This is following the TEDx Talk, How Unicorns Wind Up in a Straitjacket. Hi, welcome to this episode of Unicorns Out of a Straitjacket, which is to say super talented individuals who end up in careers that are just not right for them. So they feel restricted and uncomfortable, and they don't have room to be creative. And that's how they wind up in a straitjacket. Today with me, I've got one of the most exciting guests I've ever had on this series with us, and he's going to share his career change journey with you. So please help me to welcome Nisarga Eryk Dobosz. Hi, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Linda, for invitation. I'm very honored and happy to be part of your amazing invitation about career change, and I'm happy to share with the audience and with you how did it go for me.
Absolutely, the pleasure is all mine. I mean, your reputation precedes you. I've heard great things about you, and so far, what I've seen, they're all true, and I'm sure the viewers are going to discover that. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
To start with, I was born in Poland, so I'm a Polish citizen, and I consider myself in terms of career at the moment to be a therapist for breathwork, bodywork, massage therapy. I work with modality like biodynamic breathwork and trauma release, myofascial energetic release, Lomi Lomi Nui Hawaiian massage. So those are modalities that helps people to come back to their body, feel more happiness, feel more joy, and release some tension, pain, stress, traumas. So this is kind of area of my passion of life and my career.
That is impressive. I love that you say passion because you just know that you're on the right path, and the way you light up when you talk about it. That's
Definitely.
wonderful.
Really.
So tell us a bit about your career change or your career journey. Where did it all start? Have you always known about that you wanted to do this?
No, of course not. I was graduating from a technical university. I chose this study because of my father. My father was engineer. He was studying at the biggest Polish university, technical university, and I felt like I have to continue the lineage.
Yeah.
And I felt that being engineer gives me a certain status in society. So I've been choosing that study, and of course, being engineering, finishing technical university, my choices for my career were a little bit limited already when I started. So, but I was somehow lucky enough to dive into the corporate world straight after my university. And I will tell you in a moment why I say lucky, because in fact, it's not what I would love to do. But I'm happy that very early in my life I get on the corporate world in a big international corporation in England, because my in my mid 20s till early 30s I had this chance to really dive deeply into all the corporate world, and seeing how I can find myself there. And and after 8 years of working there, I already start questioning what is my true calling, what is my purpose. I knew I had these inner voices telling me there's something else in life, and I know the sooner I will figure it out, the more courage I can have to step out, because this world gives certain security and safety. And I notice now, being 44, the more we go on life, sometimes we have more obligation, more arrangement in life, and making dramatic decisions in life, it's not that easy anymore. So So I've been questioning myself, being in the corporation, and I had that inner voice telling me, okay, what is your true calling? And that's how it started.
Wow. Tell us about lucky. I think that was a very interesting choice of words there. I was very curious. Why would you say you were lucky to experience that?
Because I think being at the university and already as a young man, it was my dream in a way to be in corporate world at that time. Because of the society conditioning, I felt that having that status of being in corporate, driving driving with on the ladder of the corporate and gaining more positions, etc., give me certain fulfillment. And that's what I mean, that very early I was lucky to experience it, because it gave me that clue that no, actually it's not really fully a fulfillment. It's in a way a trap that I was just climbing from one step to another, and then after another step I noticed that it's just there's still something missing, because I'm not doing my profession from my true calling. That it wasn't my true calling. And so I was lucky to have that experience on the very early in my life.
Wonderful. Wow. So how how did you transition? What was there, like a eureka moment? Was there a teacher that came into your life? How did this all happen?
I think it was a gradual process for about 5 years, 4 years. So at early time in my early career, I was very happy to be in the corporate world, because that's what I thought is gives me fulfillment. And I think the first time I noticed that something is off when I catch myself disassociating at work. We had this beautiful office with big glass windows on
Yeah.
the ground floor in England, in this small town, and the windows goes out on the park. Imagine you have this green park, grass, and you know how it is in England. In the park you have deers, you have ducks, you have all sort of animals outside moving around.
Yeah.
And I had and my desk was at the window, and I catch myself disassociating, looking outside of the window, looking in this greenery of the park on these animals, and feeling inside, that's where I want to be. That's somehow I want to be close to nature. I want to somehow do something and be free
Yes.
to work where I want to work. And if I have desire to be in the nature with the animals, that's what I want to do. And then when I need to work, I can be happy to work. And this was a moment where I came back, or somebody in the office was like, "Hey, what are you doing? Go back to work." And I was like, and I got a little bit like in shock, like how dare you changing my mood of dreaming.
Wake me up.
Why you wake me up? I'm just dreaming here a little bit. But this was the first moment. And already at the time I start having therapy, where I was receiving a lot of body work, and I was on the psychotherapy journey with my therapist. And I discovered that I have certain gifts, and I've been told actually I have a certain gifts, kinesthetic gifts, and this is my touch.
Yeah.
And somebody told me that I have very powerful touch that really touch people's soul. And I had no idea what it means, but I start feeling something in my hands, like energy flowing through my hands. I just wanted to use my hands, not just for typing in the computer, but more like for the human connection, for intimacy, to be in service somehow, to use that gift. And there was over a few years that I was learning the skill of touch while being in the corporate world. And this was initially it was my hobby. It was time when I could be on my weekends and study touch, share my touch, study meditation, study mindfulness, doing some self-development work. So my weekends were like my oasis that was disconnecting me from 5 days in corporate time that was draining my energy down so badly. So I was for many years just swinging between this, like filling my batteries up over the weekend with my passion that was already my touch, and
Yeah.
then get all this drain out, you know, in the corporate. So it
Okay.
took some time to realign.
I think it's very interesting. You say because most people do that. It's it's quite normal to have this twilight zone where you're thinking, oh, I'm really enjoying the weekends and I wish that lasted longer. And then, oh, why do I have to do this? And then I think the resentment grows the more you experience that oasis, as you beautifully put it, in the weekend. And then you think, okay, well, I want more of the weekend life and less of the weekday life. That's very interesting.
Exactly, yes. And then at some point there's a tipping point where you say this is enough.
Yeah.
And or for some people it works. It's so individual. I'm not saying here that corporate world is not okay. For some people it could be true calling and it could be such a beautiful place. It's just, for me, I knew there is something deeper that is calling me, that it's not that environment, because I had somehow difficulty to find my gifts there. And
Right.
so yeah, the swinging between these two worlds at some point was very tiring, actually, because I was like, okay, where do I belong? And then I had to make a choice.
Right. Wow. And I think you've, like, going back to the TEDx talk when we're talking about three ways, 3 steps to finding the career you love. And you sort of hinted at it. The first step is in the clues for you, where someone says, oh, you're good with your hands. And you didn't even know what it meant. And I'm sure most people are confused, like, what is this touch? What does he mean he has an extraordinary touch? It almost reminds me of in the films, I don't know if you watch Mexican telenovelas, but at some point I used to be very into them. But they have these effects where someone touches them and they're like, I knew as soon as they touched me, they were the one. I'm pretty sure that's nothing like Reiki or bodywork.
Yeah,
That was the image that came in. Do you
very
want to
nice.
elaborate on some of the clues that you had, aside from the touch?
Yeah, so the touch was definitely one. The other clues was mindfulness, because I was very interested in developing my presence and through the meditation. So I was so hungry and eager to find this inner peace in me. And again, I don't know where it was coming from, but I somehow feel that very often there is our soul is looking through our body to find out that passion somehow, and gives us some circumstances in our life that we have to finally recognize whether we want or not, and it keeps on coming back. If we don't get this lesson, these events are keep
Okay.
on coming into
Yeah.
our face. And I knew for me it was deepening my mindfulness, my presence, and heal my wounds that were coming from childhood. The wounds were coming with certain trauma related to my father leaving when I was 5, that were keep on coming back and messing up my relationships. And I felt I don't want to repeat the story of my father, and I have to really find a way to heal and close this cycle, to close the lineage, and then from that space of awareness I can move into healthy relating. And I knew until I reach for my inner journey, I'm gonna just screw it up the same way as it happened to me. And it was just the clue was like, I don't want to do it
Yeah.
like to anybody, to what was done to me, so just somehow that self-awareness and the past was coming back.
Yeah, that was beautifully done, the way you linked the spiritual sort of journey and all of the baggage you bring with you into reinventing yourself. I don't think I've ever had anyone do that. So that's pretty cool for me. And I understood that perfectly. That's pretty cool. So we talk about the second step was making connections between your genius that you found, we call it your zone of genius, the clues that you found, sort of lifestyle you wanted to have, the hobbies. What were the connections for you now that you've discovered this part of it for you?
You know, the connections, I think that the connection was that I start really be very mindful about what comes into my life and what are the meanings of certain events. Because I really believe that everything that we are experiencing has a purpose, because every experience gives us certain ability to learn, to grow, to expand, or just be stagnant if we don't want to see it, if we don't want to, you know, move forward. So I was looking for those signs, and one of those signs was India. I started reading some books about India, some spiritual books, and more and more I had the image of India and an urge to go to India and to start my full-time spiritual journey there. And it was either some friend just came back from India, and or a book or movie, and the more information was coming to me. And finally, going in 2005 for my first trip to India for 3 weeks holidays, still in being in corporation. And then in India, I was traveling around. I was in South India, in Kerala, but also you know, Bombay, Delhi. I went north to Himachal Pradesh, to Himalayas, to be with MacLeod Ganj, the biggest center of Buddhism where Dalai Lama lives. And here I was in these power spots, knowing I'm on my search, and really daily meditating and sending this. The most important question at the time was to discover and have a clarity, what is my true calling, because I still didn't know. I still didn't have the courage to actually want to know, but somehow I was sending this message to, you know, to the spirit or to higher self, whatever we call it, or to God. Yeah. And then at some point I was sitting in silence in Himalayas, and like in total peace in my mind, clarity, expansion. It was such a beautiful space, and I had this strong cellular understanding that came, I don't know from where and how. It's just my feel and sound a little bit you know, bizarre or quirky, but it just came into my body, and it was body work, it was massage, and it was this kind of inner voice that came to me, and that was a moment that I fully connected dots, and I know whatever it takes to me, I'm gonna do it, because it was such a clear and strong message that I received. So I think that was the biggest dot in whole puzzle for me, that at that point I knew it. And so I came back to England in 2000 after this, and next 3 years I was kind of strategically preparing myself to leave, because I knew I'm gonna need a budget. I knew I need to keep on working. And I didn't have yet courage to quit it. I knew that for this journey I will need certain budget that I didn't have to save, to travel, to expand my skills, and to meet this extraordinary life. And I still didn't believe that that new passion can give me also financial gratification. So I was in kind of I was in a funny space that I knew I want to go, but I somehow was afraid how I'm going to do it. So I gave myself 3 more years to prepare the background for leave.
Spoken like a true engineer.
Yeah.
Strategizing it.
Yeah,
and preparing all the risks. But I think you really touched on what a lot of my clients and a lot of people feel when you're considering a career change, because of course there's the willingness, and even as you say, knowing your calling, but then there's the practical aspect of, can I really afford to do this? You know, of course you can't go to bank of mom and dad and be like, you know what, I feel like I'm gonna do this, and therefore, can you sponsor me? You've got to have that. So I like that you've shared very honestly and openly that struggle and how you were able to do it so that you could afford to live a fulfilling life that you like in the long run. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
this would be actually my biggest advice from my own perspective to anybody that wants to pursue on new career or on following their passion. Because I know many friends from different environment and they envy me and they like, oh, I also feel like I want to paint or do this or that, but I don't have a courage. And I know what it takes. And the worst advice to tell such people, and I know some people give that advice, is like, just follow your passion. And I know people who did that and they actually end up in much more mess because they have no preparation, they have no economical support.
Right.
But if you have that strategy and you know, okay, this is what I want to do, and you want to commit, and in a few years you can make a strategy. You might not overspend money on a new bag or expensive glasses or expensive car or whatever else we do in life,
Yeah.
that we buying that social acknowledgement. And this money, and we can save huge amount of money on these little things that we spend daily if we have a certain vision where it take us. And in few years when we have that financial security,
Right.
that we can more relaxedly and peacefully then pursue and spend that money on our trainings. Because even if we have a passion for something, let's be realistic, we're not going to be straight away good at that. We will need a time to master these skills. And for mastering this skill, we need sometimes 5 years, 7 years, depending. For me, it took really like 5 or 6 intense years of giving many sessions each week, having my studio and working hard, first for free, then just charging a little bit. But I had a vision, and I knew I cannot be good even though I have a gift in my hands. I have to still put this into work, and I think this would be my advice. Just don't make too quick decision. Have your vision, but find a way to transition in a healthy way so you don't have to be stressed about your finances. And so make a plan for living if this is what you want to do.
I mean, I have no words. I really think that is super sound advice, and very much needed too.
Yeah.
And as you say, it's so easy to say to somebody, "Oh, just take the plunge, just do it," and you haven't considered the whole picture
Yeah.
of actually, can they do it, or are they in the right mental space to do it? You know, because a lot of people might suffer from guilt, even if they can afford it. You know, and all of that. So you really need this holistic preparation
Yeah.
to be able to go out and do that vision that you want to do. Wonderful. Um, I will. What was the, just to finish the 3 steps? So we spoke about your clues. We spoke about the connections you made, and you shared how you've applied it. But just so that we can close that circle, how did you apply those steps into the career you do now?
Mm. So I knew I have to practice, and practice was for me so important. So I would, when I was traveling, I would just give sessions. I was living in many spiritual communities with people on spiritual path and spiritual journey. So I had an easy access to human bodies, basically, who were willing to receive good body work, who were willing to really experience what is touch. And so my motto was just keep on practicing.
Yeah.
And first months or year and a half while being in India, I already had good skills of touch, but I would give sessions for free. I would do sessions or in exchange of some donation, or I would live in communities that I would work for exchange programs. So I would be living in a place where I could also live and meditate with nice communities. And so that was my major goal, and keep on learning. I was always and I feel that learning is always continuous, and I feel I bring certain humbleness for myself to keep on checking and re-evaluating my skills, because sometimes ego comes and it can say, oh, you're so great because you had these 20-30 people in your training and they were so in awe, and I don't let these voices to overtake, because I know there's so much to learn, and there's so many teachers that I still admire, and I sometimes feel I just starting the journey because there's so much more into it. And so I think the continuous learning is where I apply the work, sharing the work continuously with people, and being grateful for where I am in my life. Even sometimes I'm exhausted. I just finished training in Poland last Sunday, totally exhausted, and there was a part of me that was like, oh my God, how long I can continue that. And then memory comes from my corporate world, and I'm like, okay, I'm good, I'm fresh, no problem, I
What's
can
the
do this one
alternative?
more week. Because I know that I have such a beautiful life, and I never feel that I do work, like, you know, I love so much what I'm doing. I love this. I on Mondays I wake up and I post this. I make this post occasionally. I love Mondays, and then I put some content. And for me, this is indicator of loving the work versus, you know, going after weekend to your job where you sit at 9 a.m. on Monday and you're like, oh my God, another week. So
That's how it is.
so gratitude for where I am, and courage, and all the gifts and luck, and all my teachers on the way. Gratitude to all the teachers, and my students. Gratitude to all the students, because I knew that my biggest learning are students who come, because I learned the most by teaching.
Yes.
And I'm so grateful that people ask me to teach it in the very early stage,
Mm.
because without my students, my clients, I would be just, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. So deep gratitude.
Sure. Oh, wow. And I can see how you embody everything you're saying, because you haven't mentioned how you work internationally and you teach everywhere. And I really want to say thank you so much for being here. You really are inspirational, truly inspirational.
Thank you, Linda, for invitation. I really enjoyed this interview. I just want to share a few free phrases that I learned from my Hawaiian teachers, and those are free phrases that I wake up with, and they just really guide me through my day and through my life. First one is bless the present. Bless the present. Second one is trust yourself,
Okay.
and third one is expect the best. And so I leave you with these three phrases. Don't be a unicorn in straight jacket.
What he said.